Howdy peeps, and welcome back to the channel. We're going to be a bit quiet today because for once we're not out in the middle of nowhere at a haunted church or somewhere like that. Today we're at my local fishing lake, and I thought I'd just show you around so you can see what's around, kind of a nature video as it were. So let's get this camera turned around and see what's what. And here we go. Now, first thing I notice is just gone into the sunlight. You can see all those bubbles coming up. Yep, that's carp feeding off the bottom. Yes, you can identify the species by the bubbles they send up. And no, it's not going to kill everything in the lake like people seem to think it will do in a fish tank, which it doesn't. And we have some of the local wildlife as well. We have a mummy and bubby duck. I have just thrown in some floating cichlid pellets, so with a bit of luck we might actually see something come up and take one. But first of all, let's talk about what's actually in here. So, what's in here, Sharp? Well, carp, obviously, of all various different flavours. There are ghost, koi, common, leather, mirror, and crucian, and moorhens as well. See, we're getting bird life in here. Rack will be very happy. Sorry, bad joke. So yes, so we've got all the major UK cyprinids. There's also the common bream, or the snot bucket as I call it, the Abramus brahma, the rudd, the roach, the perch, what we got, gudgeon, proper gudgeon, not a random aquarium fish, one that was called a gudgeon before all the other gudgeons were found. What else? Red and blue orf, chub, minnows, sticklebacks, pretty much all the fishies. And nothing appears to be coming up yet to take any pellets, so we'll have a little wander and have a look-see around. The reason we're staying up this end is because there is a couple of people fishing down there, and we like to keep things quiet when we fish in the UK, as it's not... Oh, here we go. And that is not carp. That is bream feeding on the bottom. Now, as you can probably tell by the far bank, the brown section, and if I pan down, you can see how low the water level is due to this prolonged dry spell we've had. And we've got carp moving around by the water lilies down there. And as I say, it's been dry in the UK for months now. And not only is this lake very low, but the little stream that I pass on the way here is dry. Literally completely bone dry. There's nothing, no water in it whatsoever. And the canal which is attached to this is a man-made canal. This is a natural lake that's been extended. The canal is almost dry, and if I get a chance I'll wander around there and do a little bit of filming. But the canal always does dry up because it is behind that bank, and being a lot higher it does run out of water a lot faster. So we have a quick scooch around, random strangers. It's a very pretty and very nice place to be, secluded in the Norfolk countryside, about 2 miles outside of Attleborough. located opposite Slutsole Lane, which I was going to take a picture of the road sign, but it's been taken down. I think the people who live in the house behind the sign got a bit upset. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do this one-handed. Try and keep my camera pointing somewhere remotely interesting. Rustle around in my rucksack, as we have. As you can see, someone's been fishing here today. They've actually been using sweet corn. Yes, normal corn. Because the fish we generally fishing for are all non-predatory. So the carp, pretty much the only predator in here is the perch. Obviously the others will all eat fry. Oh yeah, there are goldfish in here as well. So we'll just chuck a few more pellets out. They are the Hikari Gold Cichlid Fluting Pellets, if you wanted to know. If I'd want my catapult, we'd have had a bit more luck. As I say, over by that tree, we zoom in. You can see the ripples. Those are being caused by carp at the surface or just below. It was a very heavily stocked lake, so it's pretty much permanently green. And the people seem to have moved off, so we'll zoom out. Pop the rucky back on the shoulders. And as I say, I'll talk about some of the differences as well in UK coarse fishing to what I've seen of American fishing. As I say, we're much more stationary. We use floats and ledgers, generally fish on the bottom or the surface, using ground bait, loose feed to attract the fish into the swim, or fishing up to features. You get to read a lake, as it were, once you've been, or a river. Once you've been there a few times, you start to learn to read where the fish are going to be. For example, by the island, as it gets called. Yeah, that's a spot on a patrol route for the carp that swim around. They go past the island. So if you can fish right up to that, you'll have a good chance. If you hook any of the big ones, you'll have a good chance of losing all your end gear. It's just the way it is. And that's where the skill and the talent comes in. Or practice and experience. So we've got some rather pretty wildflowers. So wander slowly around. Again, fishing up right tight to the lilies is a good place as well. Especially with things like the crucian carp and the tench, which are also in here. I forgot to mention those. They won't go far from the lily pads. If you catch a crucian more than 6 inches away from a lily pad, there's something wrong with it. It's probably crossbred with a goldfish, which does happen. Because silly people have dumped pond fish or just their pet goldfish in here, we do have hybrids, and as the crucian is a fairly not endangered species, it's not very common. It's mostly found in East Anglia, and its natural habitats are being destroyed. Very pretty little fish, the crucian carp. It's a buttery gold colour. Doesn't get that big, only about 4 or 5 pounds for a real big one. I mean, unlike the carp that are in here that are open, they grow to over 30 pound in here, and they put up one hell of a fight when you stick a hook in one of them. But I say other differences from what I've noticed. We also tend to fish much lighter tackle, so finer lines, smaller single hooks, no barbs. Always use a landing net, whatever the fish is. No keep nets. Obviously it's all catch and release. Everything you catch goes back, unless it's something that really shouldn't be in here. Oh, here we go. See, this is where the people were fishing. That's where he was casting to. And yes, that's a carp feeding. Not a very big one. There's at least one carp down there, feeding on the bait he's just thrown in at the end of the day. Which you do. You throw in your excess bait when you're done with it. No point hanging on to it because it's going to be manky by the time you next go fishing. Now here we come to the canal. As you can see, there's been a fair bit of digging and stuff done to try to keep some water in it, because this is the upstream section, as it were, which is basically dry. There's no fish and no water in there. But as you can see by the depth on the bank, that's where it comes down to. It's not the deepest place to fish anyway at the best of times. Even without all the mud piled up, it's only about 4 foot deep at most. So yeah, that shows how bad a drought we're having in the UK. That all used to be fishable, and it's going to take a lot of rain to refill that, trust me. And this is spring fed as well. It's not just a natural runoff from the field or whatever. This is a spring fed canal. It's entirely man-made, but as I was saying earlier about the stream just up the road that's completely dry, if that's dry, the spring's dry. I don't even need to go and look at the stream to see, or the spring to see whether there's any water in it, because I know it's empty. And there is actually someone fishing just up the other end here, so we won't go right down the other end of the canal. Oh, it's pretty long. It's a fully pegged match canal, which might not mean much if you're not used to UK fishing parlance. But, hey, let me know if my American watchers and listeners are interested in learning about some UK fishing parlance, then let me know. Oh, yeah, the bike's still there, good. And perhaps we can do a video or two going through these things. I've not fished for years, but I've still got all my tackle at home, so if you want to know why I get so when people start talking about their pole and they mean their rod and how they're fishing light, and I'm thinking, what are you trying to catch, Moby Dick? Nope, there we go. Now this is where I did throw in some pellets earlier. So what I'll do is I'll be sneaky, because I just caught, I don't know if I caught it on camera, but I caught it in my eyes. I did see a small carp coming up and taking something off the surface. Now whether it's one of the pellets that I've thrown in, and yes, I'm trying to walk very carefully and produce as little vibration as I can. You might have seen those hit the water. If I get down a bit lower, preferably without half the bank collapsing underneath me, we shall see what we can see. We might get lucky. That'll do the trick. If there's anything about, they'll find them. You might be able to see just down there, that's the roach coming up to the surface and taking the freshly hatched flies. But yeah, you can see just how low it is. It should be right up to, water level should be around about there. So yeah, it's at least 3.5 foot low, if not 4 foot. Which does mean if you can get the fish feeding in here at the moment, you'll bag up big time, because they're all jammed into such a tight and small space. There's already roach coming up and pecking at the pellets. I say roach, tiny little ones. We're just going to see if we can get lucky and catch a carp come up and take one off the surface. I won't keep you much longer. But fish stock wise, the canal, basically the same species as the lake, so you've got your different flavours of carp, roach, rudd, gudgeon, tench. There's some big perch in here. I say big, I mean like 3-4 pound perch. Yeah, we've definitely got something feeding up the top there. Yep. Try zooming in. And figure out where I'm pointing the damn camera. There it is. If we're lucky, we might see a mouth come up. But it's good to know that there are still fish alive in here at least. What wind there is dragging the pellets that direction, so they're probably just going straight over his head, and he's coming up and having a nibble. Carp are very omnivorous, they'll eat anything. Quite why people worry so much about koi, I have no idea. If they were predatory, they'd be bull sharks, let's be honest. Here you go. They're coming out the weed now. Oh yes, here we are. Sharpie feeding wild carp. It's always been a lovely little place to fish. If you are local, it's Walnut Fishery in Besthorpe. Perhaps give it a little while and a bit of rain so it can actually fill back up again. And so we've got more bubbles coming up and all sorts going on. Well, I say the canal goes all the way around that corner and up another couple of 100 yards, so we'll leave it there, I think. It's been a long enough video of me just randomly waffling and pointing the camera at a muddy puddle, so thank you very much for watching. As I said, if you want to see some UK fishing stuff explained, let me know down in the comments down there somewhere. Usual stuff, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks very much for watching, especially if you've made it this far into random wafflage. Have fun, enjoy your hobbies, peace out, rock on, bye bye.